And it is exactly 4 weeks until Election Day. Recent polls show Tina Kotek and Republican candidate Christine Drazan are nearly neck and neck. We here at KGW have been sitting down with each gubernatorial candidate to hear their stance on the homeless crisis, one that is top of mind for many of you voters. Last week, we heard from Drazan and unaffiliated candidate Betsy Johnson. Blair Best joins us now. And Blair, today you sat down with Democratic candidate Tina Kotek.
That's right, Brittany. Kotek toured the Blanchet House in downtown Portland earlier today, and we caught up with her for about 20 minutes afterwards. We wanted to hear how she plans to address the homeless crisis if elected, and what she's already done as Speaker of the House. Here's what she had to say.
Democratic candidate for governor Tina Kotek believes Oregonians have no time to waste when it comes to addressing the homeless crisis.
We don't feel safe, the streets don't feel safe, and I think there are some concrete things we can do to make that better.
So if elected, you'll say you'll end homelessness for veterans, families with children, young adults, people 65 and older by 2025. Mm-hmm. How do you plan to do that?
I really appreciate you taking a look at my plan. I'm the only candidate that has that level of detail on my website. The reason I started with those populations of folks who are living on the streets is that you got to start somewhere and focus on communities where there are resources. So we have resources to help our veterans. You know, when families and kids are living on the street, that affects the trajectory of that entire family and the educational success of those children. When young people come out of foster care, that's our responsibility. They should not be homeless. There should be a pathway for them to be housed. We need to see progress. So I believe we can make progress in the first 6 months, in the first year, to help more people get into housing.
She talks about using a whole continuum of services, including more outreach teams working with the homeless.
Because that connection is really important. Say, you've been on the streets, we're here to help. What do you need?
Will you continue to allow camping on the sidewalks?
I think the city has taken the right approach of restricting certain areas for safety and health reasons where people should not be camping outside. Until we have enough shelter space, there will have to be some folks outside.
Do you have a plan on how you will handle the homeless population who wants to stay in their RV in tent as opposed to go into shelter?
I believe that when people get connected to someone they can trust and know that there's a way out of where they're living, the vast majority of people are going to say, I want to get off the streets. I don't want to be living this way. When we have shelter and services more available, those folks are going to have to get off the streets.
A lot of people see this issue as a city-specific issue. What will you do at the state level to make a difference on our streets, say here in Portland?
Such a good question. This is a statewide issue. We're obviously dealing with it. It feels very intense in Portland. Couple things. You know, more than 3 years, almost 3 years ago, I called for a homelessness state of emergency at the state level. And unfortunately, what happened is that session shut down because Christine Drazan walked out of the session, holding the state hostage, and that work didn't happen.
How do you think another state of emergency will really make a difference?
It's a really good question. I think when you issue that state of emergency, it says, we have a crisis, we need urgency. It sends a message to state agencies that it's not business as usual.
Is there anything that you learned as Speaker of the House that you would do differently if elected as governor to address this crisis?
I think maybe just assuming agencies could do this work without more accountability. As the Speaker of the House, when you pass budgets and you pass bills, you assume the executive branch is going to do their job. Well, they didn't. And as governor, I'm going to make sure agency leadership understands the urgency here, doesn't go back to business as usual, and actually gets the outcomes we need to see.
So you're the only candidate here who says they won't work to repeal Measure 110. And in a debate in Bend, I believe you said something along the lines of, we can chew gum and walk at the same time when it comes to addressing the drug crisis and getting people into treatment. Can you explain your approach to Measure 110?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Well, voters said we have to do something different. Voters understand that we have an addiction epidemic in our state. And they said, it's more effective to get people health care and into services than just having them cycle through jail. My job as governor is to make sure we fulfill that promise that voters have asked us to do.
A lot of people, and both of your opponents here, say that some of your policies in the past haven't helped this crisis. I think a lot of them say that you're for tent cities and that you're for people camping on the sidewalks and that you're not going to change that.
Well, I know what they're saying, and it's just wrong. When the court said it's unconstitutional to jail somebody just for being homeless, we have to live by what the courts say. What I think the city and counties can do is be very specific about where people can and cannot be, and for the folks that are on the streets, getting them connected to services. I don't want people living on the streets. I'm not approving of any of this.
How do you ensure that your plans will not just remain conceptual and actually go into action?
Oh, I really hate meetings for the reason. Plans have to actually make stuff happen. You know, I think sometimes Oregon's really good about spending a lot of time, a lot of recommendations, and they sit on the shelf. I read reports and say, well, you said we should do this, let's do this, because people need us to make things happen.
If homelessness is someone's top concern, why should they vote for you?
I understand how to solve this problem. I have a plan. The other ones are just talking and making, political statements. I'm not about the politics. This is about serving people. It is unsafe for people to be on the streets. And if you're living right next to someone in a tent, also unsafe for you. None of us want this. I am committed. It's about solving this problem, and I have the experience and, frankly, the toughness to get it done.
Now, we also talked about how she plans to address the affordable housing shortage and expand addiction and mental health treatment facilities. You can watch that full interview on our website. And a reminder, Election Day is November 8th. Brittany?
Blair, thank you so much.